Greek gods, trips to the moon, and dwarf planets. Besides our 8 planets, what other things in space are named for ancient gods and goddesses? 2 of Greek god Zeus's many children are the twin brother and sister Apollo and Artemis. They were both very good at archery, using bows and arrows. They had good aim, which means they can guide their arrows right to where they want them to go. If you are sending a rocket all the way to the moon, you surely want it to stay on course with good aim. Apollo was a sun god, and Artemis was a moon goddess. There are no planets named for Apollo and Artemis, but NASA, the U.S. Space Agency, had the Apollo program in the 1960s and 1970s that was able to send men to the moon, and now they have a new mission called the Artemis program, which plans to send a woman and a man to the moon in the year 2026. According to Greek mythology, Apollo pulls the sun across the sky every day, riding in his chariot, which was pulled by flying horses. Here is the rocket in the NASA Apollo program that was on its way to the moon 50 years ago, also flaming across the sky. Artemis was goddess of the moon and of wild forest creatures. She always stays young, so she never gets married and never has children. Here is the NASA rocket that will send a woman and a man to the moon in 2026. Dwarf planets are smaller than other planets, and all of the dwarf planets and their moons are named after gods, goddesses, or other beings in mythology from different parts of the world, from ancient Greece and Rome, Hawaii, and Easter Island. Pluto was discovered by an American astronomer, Clyde Tombaugh, in 1930. An 11-year-old girl named Pluto. Venetia Burney thought of naming the new planet Pluto, who is the Roman god of the dead. Her grandfather suggested the name to Mr. Tombaugh, and that name was chosen. Now, if Pluto and its moon Charon were put next to Earth, they would be smaller than the United States. Pluto has one big moon named Charon. I know it looks like Charon, but it's pronounced Charon. And 4 tiny moons named Nix, Hydra, Styx, and Kerberos. All of those names are of something in the underworld, Pluto's realm. Styx and Kerberos are too small to see from Earth, but the New Horizons spacecraft flew to Pluto and took the picture below on the right, where you can see those little moons. Pluto ruled over all the ghosts who lived in the underworld. He had a giant 3-headed dog named Kerberos. Charon was the boatman who took the dead across the river Styx to the underworld. Nyx was one of the first beings in Greek mythology. She is the goddess of the night. She covers the world with darkness and stars every night. Hydra was a scary giant monster with 9 snake heads. Hydra guarded the entrance to the underworld. Ceres is an asteroid that is now called a dwarf planet. It is the only dwarf planet in the asteroid belt, which is a lot of rocks that orbit the Sun between Mars and Jupiter. The Kuiper belt, it rhymes with viper, is also made of rocks and ice that circle the Sun, but instead of asteroids, they are called KBOs, Kuiper Belt Objects. All of the other dwarf planets there, far beyond Neptune. Ceres is less than 1/10 the size of Pluto. The next biggest asteroids are also named for Greek goddesses, but they are not big enough to be called dwarf planets. Their names are Vesta, Pallas, and Hygeia. Ceres is the Roman name for Demeter, who was one of Zeus's sisters. Demeter was goddess of plants, and especially grains that are grown for food. The English word cereal comes from the same Latin language that the ancient Romans spoke, because cereal is made from grains. And here is Ceres standing in a field of grain, probably wheat. But you won't find any cereal on Ceres. I wondered why such an empty planet was named for Ceres. The astronomer Giuseppe Piazzi, who was the first to see it in 1801, named it that because there was a temple to Ceres in his hometown in Italy. Eris was discovered in 2005. That's when astronomers made the term dwarf planet to describe small planets. Since Pluto was just as small as Eris, that is when Pluto became a dwarf planet instead of a regular planet. That change made some people mad, so it fits that the new planet was called Eris because she's the goddess of arguing and fighting. The moon is also named for a troublemaker. Dysnomia was the goddess of breaking laws and not obeying rules. Eris made trouble at a wedding one time by bringing a golden apple with the message "to the fairest," which means to the most beautiful. Then Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite fought about which one of them should get it. Makemake. This dwarf planet was discovered in 2005. It is about 60% the size of Pluto. Here's an ancient stone carving of Makemake, which is on the island of Rapa Nui. Makemake was the top god of the Rapa Nui people. According to their myths, Makemake created everything. The island of Rapa Nui is also called Easter Island. Haumea was discovered in 2003. It has 2 small moons. It is about the same size as Pluto, but it has a long oval shape because it spins so fast. It's gotten kind of stretched out. Haumea is the Hawaiian goddess of childbirth. Her daughters are Namaka, a sea goddess, and Hieyaka, the goddess of hula dancing. And so Haumea's 2 moons were named after the goddess's daughters. Well, time for me to come down to earth. Hope you liked learning about the connection between ancient gods and planets in space. Bye for now.